Snowflake AI-SQL has a separate category of utility functions called helper functions, and their primary intent is to reduce cases of failure when running other Cortex AI-SQL functions. And if you get a question like this, as shown here, you must know the purpose of each helper function and how it helps Snowflake engineers to solve a particular GenAI use case. And that's what we will cover in this quick and short video. So you don't have to go through the Snowflake documentation, as well as you don't have to memorize their syntax and their core purpose. And with this visual guided tour, you will understand the core objective of each helper function and attempt the questions very confidently during your certification exam. If you look into this tree map, this is my helper function, and this comes under domain 2, which has 40% weightage. During the exam, you will surely get 2 or 3 questions which will be combined with other subtopic, and it will try to bring a certain degree of complexity. The syllabus has mentioned only 3 helper function called count token, try complete, and split text recursive character. However, if you go through the Snowflake documentation, it has 2 other helper function called toFile and prompt. And even though it is not part of the syllabus, you will surely get 1 or 2 questions from them also. Some of these functions are having its latest version. For example, token count versus AI token count, and they may have different variant. And we are going to cover each of them in detail in this quick and short video. So stay with me. Once you finish this video, you don't have to go through the documentation, and you will be fully ready to attempt any question as far as the helper function is concerned. So let's go to our Snowflake web UI. A quick reminder, all my videos are recorded in 4K, so switch to 4K for the best clarity. You can follow me on Instagram and message me to get a free copy of GenAI Certification Glossary, perfect for your exam prep. Also, check the video setting because this video supports more than 13 languages, including Asian and European languages. So this is my worksheet called helper function.sql. So here is my count underscore token, which is part of my Snowflake database Cortex schema. This takes the model name followed by the input text or a prompt. And with that, it provides you the estimated token count. So here is my first example. Let me execute that. The syntax is very simple. So I got the result 9. So if this is a prompt and this is a model, the token count will be 9. If I'm going to use DeepSeek or Mistral, let's see if the token count changes or not. So here also it is 10. From 9 it has gone to 10. And if I go to Mistral 7B, here also it is 10. Whenever you are calling any general purpose as well as task specific function, as we have covered in our earlier video, so the primary purpose of this function is to reduce the cases of failure when you are running other Cortex AI function which has a token limit. Snowflake suggests to use AI count token instead of using count token, and it has slightly different structure. It allows additional parameter, but let's quickly run this particular SQL. And here I got the value 19 compared to 9. So if I run this once again, I have 9 and here I got 90. I don't know why there is a difference. So here I am using Llama 3.1 and here I am using Llama 3.3. So if I just change to Llama 3.1, let's see what happens. So here it is still 19 and I do not know why Snowflake behaves that way. Even though both of them are using the same model, technically it should return the same number of token. When it comes to AI token count, it comes in 3 different variants. All of them takes the function name, but the first variant takes function name, model name, and input text. Second takes the function name, input text. For example, AI sentiment, AI summary, and all those things doesn't have the model name. So if you want to calculate the token count such purpose built function, you should use the variant 2. The third one is, for example, AI sentiment, where you also pass the category. For that, you have to use the third variant. So let me help with this simple example. So this is my first variant where I'm passing the function name followed by the model name followed by the prompt, and let's see. So this result is 19. Here it is coming as a fixed. Now it is possible that you may use the function name with AI complete, and let's see whether it is case sensitive or not. So the function name is not case sensitive. You can give upper, lower, any case. It should not be a problem. But let's say instead of specifying llama 3.3 hyphen 70b, I have specified all in uppercase. Let's see what happens. So this will end with an error because it says that unknown model. So remember that the model name is always lowercase. Likewise, if I give incorrect model name, let's say there is nothing called 71b, and if I specify this, it also ended error saying that there is no such model. So certification exam may give you a syntax like this and try to validate your awareness about this constraint. When it comes to AI sentiment, which gives you positive, negative, and neutral, I don't need to give the model name. This is my second variant, which just take the function name and does not enforce you to provide the model name. So let me execute this, and this will give you the token count like 139. We can use this purpose built function called AI classify. We can give the prompt and we also give the category, and this is my third variant. Along with this prompt, this list is also considered for the token count. So we covered count token, their limitation with respect to model name, uppercase and lowercase. We also understood the AI token counts and its three variants, and when we should use different variants for different functions along with the model name. Now let's go to this to file, which is not part of the syllabus. However, it is used very frequently in many other AI SQL function. So let's cover this. Snowflake allows us to create a stage object, and within stage we can upload different kind of file, maybe PDF, images, text file, and so on. So this to file helper function creates a reference to a file in an internal or external stage for use with AI complete or other function that accept a file object. So to file also come with three variant. The first variant take only the stage name and relative path. Second, it only takes the file URL, and third, it takes the metadata, and we are going to understand each of them. Now let me run this show functions and let's see what result does it bring. So here I have to file. Alternatively, it has something called try to file. This is what the different variant of this function. Likewise, here also I have four different variants, and we will cover all three variants and quickly try to file helper function. So if you look into this first syntax, here this is my stage location, and here this is my name of the file, and this file is directly sitting inside this stage location. If it is sitting within the multiple context, you have to probably add a context here, but this first parameter is purely the stage name. And during the exam, you will get multiple syntax and exam will ask you to choose the correct one. So let's run this. So this is my stage and these are my three sample files. Now let's execute this SQL command and see the result. So this is the result, which is nothing but an object. This is how the details looks like. Now this is my second variant. So second variant says it should give me the file URL. To get the file URL for a stage location in Snowflake, you have to use another built-in function called build stage file URL. And let me run this SQL statement and show you the result. So this is the result, and I am going to pass this entire thing as a part of this to file, which is primarily this variant. And let's see what result does it bring. Technically, it should bring the same result because that is the purpose of this helper function to file. So this brought exactly the same result as the first version. Now let's understand the third variant, which takes an object, and in this object you can really define all the information about that particular file and construct this file object. So this is also a simple one. And here you got this one. So if you change this value from 6 to 7 or 6 to 8, it does not fail. It generally gives a reference object. But in the first variant, if I give something called 00, which does not exist, this says it failed. So we understood how this to file function work. Now let's quickly see how try to file helper function work. So here I modified this file and this particular file doesn't exist in my stage location. And if I run this try to file SQL function, it produces null, because every function in Snowflake, if it is prefixed with a try, even if it fails, it does not produce the error message. It simply returns the null. So based on your use case and based on the scenario, you can decide whether you should use to file or you should use try to file to make sure that your pipeline doesn't break. So now let's move to another try underscore complete helper function. Since it is not the core function, it is a helper function, because we have already covered the complete or AI underscore complete function in our previous lecture. So if you do not know how this function works, you can go and refer that video. In this video, we'll quickly see its syntax and its behavior. So this is a try complete, and this comes under your Cortex schema Snowflake. So this got executed successfully. So let's simulate a failure scenario. And for that, I will change my model name to OpenAI GPT 4.1, which is not enabled in my account. And if I run this, it produces null. But if I just change from try complete to complete, and let's see what result does it produce. So it failed because it says that in my region, this particular OpenAI GPT is not enabled. And for that, I have to enable the cross-reference inferences, which is part of my domain 1. So now we will quickly see this prompt helper function, which is again not specified in the syllabus, but it is part of the Snowflake documentation. So we'll quickly cover, and you will surely get one syntax-based question from this topic, which will be combined with other topic. So here is a very simple example of a prompt helper function. The primary purpose of prompt helper function is to construct a structured object containing a template string and the list of argument. Let me show you how does it work first. If you look into this syntax, this looks pretty much like a Python where we apply the string formatting. So this is my string where I have this 0 index and the first index. And when it is executed, it does not simply replace this with that and this with that. It rather creates and construct an object which can be further used to your AI function. And let me show you what do I mean by that. We all assume it will produce, "Hello Alice, today is Monday," but actually this is not the outcome of this prompt, and this will be one tricky question in the exam. So let me double click here. So this particular string is converted into this template, and this two arguments is a part of this block. And now when you pass this object into your AI-SQL function, the AI-SQL function knows how to use this structured object and use it for that AI-SQL function. So if you see here, I am again using this prompt, and this is my stage location. Let's see what information do I have in this stage. So I have these two files, and now if I run this particular statement where I'm using a prompt, let's see what response does it produce. So here my arguments are having this two file which we have covered earlier in this video, and this is my second content. And so this index 0 is referring to this, and in this index 1 is referring to this. Okay. So we understood that prompt does not perform any string formatting itself. It is intended to construct an object to be consumed by Cortex AI function. And let's see what do I mean by that. If you look into this AI complete, here this is my model name, and second parameter is a prompt, which is primarily constructing this object, and this object is actually going inside this AI complete function. And remember, your cortex.complete does not allow the prompt object, and that will be a one tricky question in the exam. So if I run that where I'm trying to compare these two images, and these two images are injected automatically in this different points, and let's see what result does it bring. Since it is an image, it is taking a lot of time. So it says, yes, both images appear to be food related, but they show different type of presentation, and that's what we wanted to understand from this one. So this is how we use this prompt, and exam will combine this and ask a tricky scenario based question. Now let's quickly see this is split text recursive character, which is used primarily with your vector embedding and the RAG application, specifically whenever we do the chunking. So in our previous video, we have covered the parse document, and once we parse the document, then we'll use this split text recursive character, which will split your text recursively, and then you can fit the outcome of this into a RAG application through a vector database. So the primary purpose of split text recursive character function is to split a string into a shorter string recursively. And this is how the construct looks like. It is part of Snowflake database Cortex schema, and it can take 5 different input. The first start with the text to split, followed by format, which could be either none or a markdown if you're trying to process a markdown file based on our AI pass document out. And then you can specify the chunk size. It should be greater than 0, followed by overlap and separator. Overlap and separator are optional parameter. So let's quickly see how this function behaves with an example, and it would be more clear to you. If you look here, I am calling this function. This is the input string. My format type is none, which I can also replace with markdown. And this is the chunk size, and this is the overlap. Even though I specified the chunk size equals to 15, what I'm telling is Snowflake that make sure the chunk size should not be greater than 15, but it can be less than 15. So let me run this. And here I got the result. So what this function does, based on this chunk size and overlap, it applies an algorithm to make sure that it has an equal distribution and there is an overlap. So is A overlapping here? But in some cases, overlap is not visible. So here also I can see overlap. And finally here I can see overlap. And then here I do not have any overlap. It does not follow the number blindly. It ensures that the split happens logically because it has to further fit into your vector database for RAG based application. So when it comes to the certification exam, very unlikely they will ask a question on the syntax. They will ask a scenario based question where this function fits when it comes to RAG based application development. I have a table called sample document, which has a markdown style content. And if you look here, this is my content. And here I'm calling this function where I am passing this document followed by markdown. This is my chunk size. So the number of characters should not be greater than 25 and overlap is 10. Let's execute and see the result. So here you see it has performed the split for the first followed by second and so on. And in most of the places, it is following a very logical split. So if you see here, it has split this entire URL into 2 different parts. So we have covered all the helper function, and you will surely get 3 to 4 questions, not directly from this topic, but they will be combined with other scenario questions and ask you to validate or the purpose of this function and in which sequence this function has to be used. If you do not have a good knowledge when and how these functions are used, probably you will make incorrect choices during the exam. Thanks for watching this video. This channel is dedicated to helping you master Snowflake, data engineering and GenAI skills without the complexity. And if you want to take your learning to the next level, you can also explore my Udemy courses for deeper and structured training. See you in the next video. Keep learning and keep growing.